What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. This is Lone Wolf, and in this video I want to talk to you guys about how I recently spent dozens and dozens of hours gearing an alt from scratch in the Shadowlands PvP scene, and how that process left me with such an eye-opening experience. While all new players, alts, and people just grinding honor have to go through in the current state of World of Warcraft PvP. With that being said, let's get into it. It's interesting how I even got to the point of making this video. A few days ago, in the middle of me recording footage for my next video, which is about my Necrolord Hunter, my mouse finally showed its age. After 7 years, a few buttons on it just gave out. So I ordered a new mouse, but it was going to take a little over a week to get here. But because I have the itch to work on a video, I decided to use the buttons that do work on my mouse to play an alt. How fun would it be to make a Fury PvP video? How badass would that be? I thought to myself. So I took my level 59 warrior, got him to 60, and embarked on the gearing process. Now, very briefly, I want to show you my original intent of me making this Fury warrior. Alright, so now I want to show you the reality of the PvP scene for new players, returning players, and players leveling an alt. It's some cringe stuff. Mad cringe. Now let's look at the facts. 1, I'm playing an alt with low gear. 2, I'm playing a Fury Warrior, which is not considered a viable spec. 3, I am playing Alliance. And 4, these 3 things are not relevant to this story. Like many of you, I've been playing this game for a number of years. I have been through all of this before. It is nothing new to queue into a BG where one group outgears the other. There is nothing new to queue into a pre-made. There's nothing new that you or the enemy team may have new or unskilled players. There isn't even anything new about one-shots, but something is off in Shadowlands. I want to be clear here. The key difference between then and now is what you just saw has happened 8 out of the 10 games I played and were pure chaos, which in hindsight was hilarious, dude. Hilarious. Like, I could not believe that I just put in all this time and the game is the way it is. The last 3 days, I spammed an easy 50 plus BGs, specifically to get footage on my warrior and as a side goal to gear him up a bit. But from the first BG I played a few days ago to the last BG I finished last night, the chaos never stopped. Entire teams obliterated. Random abilities one-shotting without setup. Splash damage killing people from 100% health. Entire teams quitting after the first initial battle. Even in-game chat changing from the standard "you all suck blah blah blah" to "what the F is this trash." What used to be a relatively rare occurrence has now become the new norm. I couldn't help to think, holy shit, this is happening way too much. Am I the only one experiencing this at such a high frequency? So much so, I checked the WoW PvP forums. Interestingly enough, the top threads in both the PvP forums and the PTR forums were specifically talking about gearing in PvP. And to be honest, I'm not sure why this took me by surprise. Whenever I played a BG on my main hunter, I felt like I can kill players much easier than in past expansions, with minimal setup required for most games. I always kept my hunter somewhat geared with max Legos and skipped the whole gearing process through BGs. I did BGs for fun and for content. I never thought about the whole gearing thing. Since the beginning of 9.1, I could queue straight into rated content. So I should have had some idea of what was going on, but because I wasn't doing the gearing process through BGs, it wasn't something that was on my mind. It was just like, okay, I can just destroy these people, or these other people can destroy others. Now in these threads, some say it is a faction imbalance. A few say it's a skill issue, and many talk about gearing and how gear is to blame. All these things play a role in all of this, but the truth is hiding in the details. What I've come to realize is that the gear by itself isn't much of a big deal. The PvP ranks aren't an issue either, but these PvP ranks are no doubt a whole different problem in itself, and we'll get to that shortly. The issue comes in when you introduce conduits, legendaries, renowned stamina buffs, and how they all scale with your primary, secondary stats and abilities, and how versatility and procs double dips in all of this. When you start to upgrade your gear and conduits and unlock soulbind abilities that are percentage based, your power starts to scale much higher the more gear you attain, leaving a large power gap in between extremes. There is also needing honor to upgrade conquest, a system that funnels players wanting extra honor to upgrade their conquest gear into daily randoms, which gives a moderate amount of honor, enticing all, new players, alts, and people who can't play with their partners in arena or having enough time to set up an RPG. Which in a sense is a good thing because it keeps random content relevant, which was a major problem in BFA, where BGs didn't have a good enough reason to grind. Now, for PvP ranks, they are a really cool concept, and I think maybe a viable system. It could be replaced, sure, but the end goal still remains the same. You should want to spend your time attaining and earning things while gearing. It should realistically take time, but the most important thing to consider here is the experience of the consumer and what the game is creating or instilling into them. Like I mentioned, I played enough BGs where I should be very close to full decked out starter gear, but I feel farther from it now than when I needed to get the base level starter gear. 33 hours of PvP dailies, weeklies, and BGs with Torghast, and I'm barely at the halfway point of a full PvP honor starter gear. I'll need another 7 to 10 BGs per gear slot, depending on the slot at this point. Upwards of another 20 to 30 hours to complete a full starter gear if you're fully immersed in the random scene. I then think to myself, how would any new player or person progressing an alt want to spend 40 plus hours in the chaos that is random PvP right now? The time needed to grind is not just slow, but unbearable due to the relentless shenanigans. I have never experienced this much of an imbalance of power where entire teams are being wiped out by one player and it becoming a normal thing that just simply happens. There are many solutions being shared right now, and I agree with many. I think the amount of connecting systems that go into gearing and PvP contents are too intertwined and may prove difficult to change back to an enjoyable experience. Here are a few solutions that would turn things for the better. 1. Have an accessible PvP starter set like crafted PvP gear, and have PvP specific gear drop from boxes while leveling in the 50 to 59 bracket of PvP content. Have a level 60 honor set that still takes time to attain, but shouldn't take a 2-hour a night player a month to acquire if they did not PvP during leveling. If they continue with the PvP ranks, then allow PvP weekly quests to drop an upgrade token exclusive to honor gear. Many folks want all gear to be purchasable without rating, and I agree with that, but only if they let rating unlock one piece or two of conquest gear. This allows players who rank up access to conquest gear before anyone else, but not gain so much power in the way that it happens now, where you can just, the moment you hit 16, 18, 2100, you can upgrade your entire set. That shouldn't be the case. I do think conquest pieces should continue to have ranks to give BGs a reason to queue into. This is where a time sink should be placed, along with the normal rated content grind. So basically, one set to get you in the door, one set to solidify your presence in PvP, and the last set to set you apart from the rest. Earning PvP rating, gaining conquest gear, and upgrading conquest gear is where the time sink should come into play, not the starter experience. Okay, so let's talk about what Blizzard has changed for 9.1.5. They blanket nerfed the honor required to upgrade honor gear by 25%. I think this is a good start, but there remains two problems. First is that you still need over 70,000 honor for a full starter set. Lower the entry barrier. Second, renown still holds you back from fully upgrading your gear. If this trend keeps going on, a person who is starting a new season with a new character will have to wait weeks in order to gain ranks, while the person who played in the last season will be able to go straight into rated content without much hassle and immediately start gaining conquest gear. So not only are you still having to grind an immense amount of honor, you also have to wait weeks in order to fully upgrade your starter gear. The renown time gating shouldn't even exist for starter PvP gear. I would say it should exist for conquest gear to limit the power creep, but even then, it doesn't make any sense. The next PvP change they made upped the minimum item level of starter gear. They gave a new ranks to conquest gear to help us with a more gradual progression curve while doing arenas. This helps only a little bit because ranks still exist in our starter gear. You will still have massive HP differences and power differences. Crafted PvP gear should get you to 213 in PvP. Starter gear should just be 233, and that's it. Alright guys, so it's insane that I went into leveling and all to apply my creativity into creating something fun out of it, and through the process ended up a changed man, making something completely different from my original idea. What do you guys feel about all of this? Do you think the new changes will make a big difference? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for listening, and make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more videos. If you want to help support my work, then you can find the links in the description, including my new Patreon. With that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
I don't know if I'm changing over.